Alice isn't wrong. The mood out there is still grim. Some of the trolley remember a time before they were dependent on the soul system, but even they aren't seldom wondering aloud if they have the chance to reunite with old friends and family before they pass on. With good reason, too. The journey home won't be an easy one for those who've grown old. That's why it's mostly been younger folk who've been leaving for Tyrell, ones with no elders to care for. Word of that problem has reached us in Tuliolal. My brother is doing all he can to see the Shockley Railroad restored to operation, so that people may come and go more freely. Unfortunately, the tracks only go so far as Vanguard, so some traveling by foot will still be necessary. Even so, the railroad would make things a sight easier. How long before it's back in service? I couldn't say. When I left for this visit, Kona seemed reluctant to make promises. But while Shale's working on the data, we could go see the state of it for ourselves. To Shaloni Station then, and I'll make sure to keep Kona informed. Okay. Here we go. Tatawalaka. Valve resolve, and Nollywood went to boot. How can I do for you? We're hoping to get for some good news about the railroad. There's an increasing number of people looking to return to Tyrell that can't make the journey on foot. As it happens, the Valve's reason is also on his way here to take stock of the situation. Nah, scratch that. On his way. Yo, new duds, Aaronville. I like it. Oh God, I have to say it. Did our little Bun finally outgrow his own clothes? Stop that. As you well know, my previous attire was that of a gleaner, and I've chosen a different path. It was time for a change. You're here about the railroad too? It was in part for my sake that the original Dawnblazer was sacrificed, so I felt it only right that I assist with its replacement. Speaking of which, I assume Lamachi has explained the growing urgency of the need. What have you to report? The new locomotive was on track for completion. We're having difficulty pulling her into the station in a manner of speaking. You see, when we used the Dawnblazer to get into the dome, urgency outweighed all other considerations. But now we're back on our original problem. How to run the railroad without upsetting the inhabitants of Hhetso. That is the ironic. Though the Hhetso that followed them are none too pleased about their Hhetso being spooked by the noise of the locomotive either. The solution I've devised to quieten. Is that a word? The railroad should address that complaint. But a silent train presents a different danger. The Ronique will need to be deterred from wandering across the tracks. And I suppose we can't just blow the whistle at them, or they'll panic and be put off their grazing again. Weren't the railroads plotted to avoid the Ronique's preferred grazing areas, though? It's odd that they're getting so close in the first place. The Ronique's grazing patterns have shifted since the tracks were laid. I'm not certain why, but I intend to ask the people of Hhetso for their insight. As a major proponent of the railroad, I have a duty to assist in this matter. Oops. And I too would hear what the Hhetso have to say about it. They're the ones most affected, after all. I believe it would be best to begin by consulting the leader, Hhetso. The rest of you can accompany us to the Hhetso encampment if you like. Okay. As committed as the Hhetso are to tradition, they are amenable to the unfamiliar, or so I'm told. Our prior visit to Hhetso was also on railroad business. Pray they do not take us for train enthusiasts. To think all of this can be backed up at a moment's notice to follow wherever the Ronique lead. Well, resolve, well, reason. I bid you welcome to our camp, but what brings you all the way to Hhetso? I thank you for seeing us. Our visit concerns the matter of the Shockley Railroad. You too have noted the Ronique's unexpected change in behavior, then? My son, Hhetso, has been looking into this matter. Hhetso? Normally, we'd expect the Ronique to keep to their favorite grounds nearby for a while yet. And despite a thorough search, we haven't found anything wrong with the quantity or quality of the grazing in Pyarionan and Yawatane. Yet they refuse to keep to where they usually would, instead pushing westward toward your railroad. I certainly see no cause for this in seasonal migration. Nevertheless, should they continue to move west, we will follow. As any true Hhetso would, I suppose. As you may have surmised, I am of Hhetso descent. My parents traveled with the Ronique as well, though I myself have no memory of the experience. I was left behind as a baby, you see, during such a migration. One of my many sacrifices necessitated by a nomadic lifestyle, I am forced to assume. A chance encounter with a kind Pelu merchant was the only reason I survived. Taking pity on me, he taught me his trade, that I might fend for myself. I became a stall-keeper until the all-else markets, and that is where the dawn servant found me and adopted me. I had already been in the palace for some time when Namachi came to join us. Like me, she had been cast aside by her parents. I knew the pain of solitude, and wanted to spare her that suffering. As this tiny child's new brother, I swore I would always be there for her. Truly, I never heard of the Ronique choosing a path so arduous as to force such a terrible decision. Nor of any Hhetso willingly leaving their own flesh and blood behind. There must have been some exceptional circumstance. I cannot say. The idea of following in their footsteps that I might make better excuses for their actions never much appealed to me. Even if it might help you understand the Ronique's current behavior? As is so often the case, you are correct. Though my discomfort with the Hhetso may arise from fear of arise from fear of reopening old wounds rather than blind fervor for innovation. It would nevertheless see me repeat past mistakes. And to refuse to learn one of our country's treasured traditions would make me a poor dawn servant indeed. Please, teach me of the Ronik and what they mean to you. I promise to listen with an open mind. We would be delighted. In the meantime, your companions are welcome to look around. Will you learn of Hhetso culture with me? I should like to approach this with the fervent curiosity that you and my sister share, but it would be useful to know whether I am doing it correctly. Then it's settled. You'll learn more of the Ronik, and we'll have a look around the plains. And perhaps, in the process, we'll find the answers we seek. Okay. The quickest way to learn about our way of life is to do as we do. I hope you're not above manual labor. I am not the most experienced, I am ashamed to admit, but I shall put forth every effort. That's all we ask. Take these tools. Now introduce yourself to anyone who looks busy and ask if you can help. They'll be happy to teach you what to do in exchange for another pair of hands to do it. Let us meet back here later to share what we've learned. I'm afraid I finished with my tasks for the time being, but since you're so eager to learn about our way of life, why don't I tell you a bit about our migration customs? If you're here, you likely already know that the Ronik are our Hhetso, our guides, that we travel with through the turning of the seasons. We trust them to lead us to fertile land with all we need to survive. But you may not know that sometimes the herd splits in two, bound for different paths. On those occasions, we Hhetso must also part with half of our number. You may think it a strange and stressful custom, but over the years it has seen us visit new lands and broaden our horizons as a people. This too is the wisdom of the Hhetso. This won't do. The wind will go right through it. Me without my needle and sinew. Oh, these are precisely what I need. I should be able to patch up the covering now. Given how often we pack up and reassemble our tents, they're bound to get the occasional tear. Fortunately, the Ronik hide they're made of is durable enough that we generally needn't worry. You're learning about the Hhetso way of life, are you? I may have a thing or two to share, but rather than talking your ear off, let me test your powers of deduction. I find answers much easier to recall later if I arrived at them myself. Our Hhetso provide us with something we use in medicines, poultices, and soap to drive away pests and to sustain our fires. What is it? Is it dung again? Sounds like there's a story there. But that is indeed the correct answer. We've discovered myriad uses for Ronik chips over time, each a boon to our way of life. Where there is a need, our Hhetso always provide. Wait, they use dung in soap? Ew? How can that even work? I suppose if you treated it... No, never mind. I'm not even gonna think about it. You're here to help? Well then, why don't I show you how to care for a Ronik's coat? Go ahead and run your fingers through it. Gently now. See, I would have said the answer to all of those things could have been fat. Like, lard. As you stroke the Ronik's coat, you notice that many portions are shaggy and tangled. This one's fur is a bit overgrown, but a good brushing should thin it out. Would you like to give it a try? You'll need the right tool for the job, mind you. Not a comb of the type you're used to. Or a comb of the type you're used to would just get lost in the tangle like as not. I have a fur brush. Ah, Geppetto sent a Ronik brush with you, did he? How like him. Now, just run it through one little patch at a time. Gently. You dutifully brush the Ronik until your arms grow weary from the prolonged battle with its coat. It appears much tidier now, though the same cannot be said of your clothes, which have now acquired a new coat of their own. I love the way some of this is written. Well done! With less excess fur, our friend here will be more comfortable in the afternoon heat and less susceptible to illness. A combed coat also makes it easier for us to identify injuries should the need arise. Good, good. I'm still sketchy about using dung in soap, but hey. What is that weapon? Oh boy. Amakura Ultima. Huh. That is a ultimate weapon. You smell of the grass and the wind. Which is a good thing, I promise. You could nearly be mistaken for one of us. If a bit on the furry side. Thanks. Probably wouldn't get that if you weren't, yeah. God, I cannot remember the name of the Hrothgar. I'm curious what I would have gotten if I was still on Mikote, though. I have to wonder how Valkona is getting on. I assumed he would be reluctant to get his hands dirty, but it seems his wish to understand us was sincere. Oh, he means it. Ah, there he is now. He's pleased with himself. Apologies for my tardiness. I was tasked with grazing the Ronik and ended up rather far afield. I found myself wandering hither and thither at my companion's inclination. To force us back to the trail seemed inappropriate. But how was your own work? Have you anything to share? The Ronik are treasured members of this community, as important as family. Indeed, the Ronik provide for the Hhetso, and in turn the Hhetso are good to the Ronik, just as family should be. Mine is not the only way, though at times I lack the experience to know otherwise. My ability to conceive of how a decision might be right does not mean that it is wrong. My parents had a duty to the Ronik, as they did to me, and so I wonder if their leaving me behind was not so selfish an act as I once believed. I have no way to know, of course, and regardless, this has no bearing on our present concerns. We are here in service to the people of Toral after all. Nevertheless, I thank you for helping me find deeper meaning in what we've done today. I will endeavor to remain curious, especially where the Hhetso are concerned. I'm glad to hear that, Valkona. You're welcome among our herd any time. This does not fix the, this does not solve our question, though. Why are the Ronik in the way of the train when they've never been before?